Hey everybody, it's me Jill and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 13, Episode 12, Bitter Pill to Swallow. Well, we open this episode with a bang. Dorit and PK are checking out an event space at the Beverly Hilton for Dorit's second annual Homeless Not Toothless Gala. Yes, Homeless Not Toothless is the charity that holds a very special place in Dorit's heart, and also, I assume, her mouth. And Dorit says since they talked to the therapist, she feels more connected to PK. He's being very attentive to her needs. When she panics a little bit talking to the people from the hotel about, but now what will happen? Will people just be able to come in these doors after the doors are closed? Will anyone just be able to come in? Or she's very concerned about the safety of herself and her guests, and PK picks up on it right away, and he's like, I'm sure we can figure something out to keep people away and, whatever. They are expecting 400 people, including Paula Abdul and William H. Macy, and PK is working on a surprise guest. So, Boy George, right? Isn't Boy George always the surprise? Not that I wouldn't be thrilled if Boy George came to one of my events. Of course I would. I'm just saying, can we really still call it a surprise? So now we are introduced to Gino, who is the director of catering. And oh my God, when he shows them an example of the table setting, PK really steps up for Dorit when he says to him, my wife is much too polite to tell you this, but this looks like a canteen in an office. Oh no. Now, do I agree that the table is very plain and boring? Yes. The whole entire space looks like some place that you would hold like a business convention of some sort, like, for a company that makes plastic cups. I would imagine they would hold their award ceremony in this very space. It's dated, it's dimly lit. I don't know. I mean, this is the Beverly Hilton. Kathy, your girl needs a little refresh. Come on. But all that said, I don't think we need to be quite that rude when we're talking to people. There's a more tactful way of letting someone know that this is not exactly what you had in mind, right? Okay, next we are having lunch with Crystal and her brother Jeff, who is back in town, and she's telling him a little bit about her trip to Ojai, that Sutton licked Kyle's toe, and Crystal's like, and her foot was in a shoe all day. And Jeff's like, oh, it wasn't clean? No, it was not clean. We were all disgusted. Jeff's like, we don't even let people walk in our house, let alone lick their toes. So they get to talking about Jeff's ex-fiance and is she mad and all that stuff. And Jeff said, I think she just thinks that you and Mom never accepted her. Then they talk about how close they were growing up as siblings. They were, people used to think they were twins. Crystal said, we see some adorable pictures of them when they were small. But at the end of the day, Jeff appreciates his mother and his sister, but that they need to trust that they did a good job with raising him. Such a good job that he is capable of now making his own decisions. And what he has decided is that he is going to be spending half of his time in Bangkok. Crystal's like, you're just not going to move there full time, right? And he said, no, like half of the year he'll spend there, half he'll spend in Beverly Hills. And that's just how it's going to have to be. Okay, so back at the Beverly Hilton, Dorit and PK have gotten a suite there. And so they're getting ready for the gala. Dorit's having a little golden hour photo shoot out on the balcony. We check in at Crystal's house, and Rob Minkoff has an event of his own to go to for the Brave Little Toaster. But he will be meeting Crystal later for the Homeless Not Toothless event. Yes, those are the actual names of two things being celebrated tonight. Now we check in with Kyle and Mauricio. They're riding together in a limo, and it is interesting to me that he can make Dorit's event, but not Kyle's. Okay. He says he's been traveling so much and, he's just trying to catch up. And Kyle goes, yeah, well, now I'm going to be traveling. And he said, yeah, I know about this weekend. She goes, and then I'm going to Spain. And he's like, what? Kyle, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you I'm going to Spain with the girls. Okay, so back at the Beverly Hilton, the event space looks much, much better now. I mean, still the same carpet from the 1970s, but PK, you can't have everything. Erica runs into her dentist, who may or may not have been hitting on her, unclear. She recognizes, oh, I'm your patient. I was just about to call your office because I lost my bleach trays. She's so flirty. Anne Marie and her husband are there. They are at the step and repeat, and Mauricio's like, let's see those teeth. And they laugh, but Kyle doesn't think it's funny. She's like, don't distract them. What is in that drink? Is it alcohol or weed? And he's like, alcohol. She goes, okay. Yeah, it isn't that she doesn't think he's funny, although maybe she doesn't think he's funny. I don't know. It's more about the fact that she, hates him now. You know how at the end of a relationship, when every single thing the other person does just annoys you to no end? That's what's happening here. Sutton, Erica, Crystal, and Garcelle are standing around together chatting about Sutton's MP and ME, magical esophagus. In her confessional, she said, my ME is like my MP, smooth and silky and tight. Sutton! Not ballerina approved. Jeez. I feel like at this point she's actively trying to upset the ballerinas. Did they have a falling out? So anyway, at the little table, Sutton said, if you talk about my body behind my back, it's not going to go well. And here comes Anne Marie. Yeah, she introduces her husband to everybody, and then Sutton said, we need to talk. And she goes, yeah, oh, sure, yeah, we can talk. And Sutton goes, now. And she's like, oh, okay. And so she sends Marcellus off to get her a drink. Sutton, you picked the wrong person. Yeah, so there are a lot of no ma'ams as Sutton is trying to speak and tell her what's going on. But Anne Marie will not let her. And now Anne Marie is accusing Sutton of yelling. And she's like, I'm not a yeller, but since you're yelling, I can match that energy. Sutton goes, no, I wasn't. Yes, you were. Sutton, is that my third lie? And Anne Marie goes, yes. So Erica goes, what were the first two? Anne Marie, well, the first lie was that her doctor told her that she could drink and take gabapentin at the same time. Sutton, which he did. Anne Marie, you can't. Sutton, are you my doctor? Anne Marie goes, it doesn't matter. I am a board-certified nurse anesthetist. Sutton. And Sutton goes, and I have a board-certified doctor. Anne Marie, great. A GI. Great. That I've seen. Great. So I know what I have. Great. Anne Marie's got her own version of the name 'em game. Great. And then Sutton goes, that you said I made up. And Anne Marie goes, I didn't say you made it up. And Crystal goes, you said that she lied. Flashback to Anne Marie telling Crystal and Garcelle, I've known Sutton for 14 seconds and already heard 2 lies out of her mouth. Anne Marie, I said what you said does not make sense medically. And then she goes, I said if it's a lie. If. Okay, well now that's a lie because she did not say if. Garcelle, you said she lied twice. Anne Marie, about the gabapentin and potentially about this. Crystal, so you said she lied. Anne Marie, potentially. And Crystal's like, just say it. You called her a liar. Anne Marie, I swear to God. Anne Marie goes, Crystal, you're the one that said she had an eating disorder. Oh my God. Okay. Again, you know you're on a reality show and that your conversations are being recorded, filmed for a TV show seen by millions. So what is Anne Marie's medical diagnosis? Clueless, not toothless? Come on. Crystal is fired up. She's like, are you out of your mind? Good question, because you're going to accuse the woman who has an eating disorder of outing another woman for having an eating disorder. Really? Do you guys think that Anne-Marie knows about Crystal's eating disorder? I mean, again, I always think that if I were to become a housewife, I will never, just again, for the record, if I had never seen the show before, I'm going to watch. I'm going to at least watch the season before I'm on, just so I know a little bit about who these ladies are and what they're about. I'm not going to go into this blind. So it would be shocking to me if Anne-Marie didn't know that Crystal has an eating disorder, because she was very open about it for a couple of seasons now. But also, I don't know. I don't know that much about Anne-Marie. I mean, look at Mary Cosby. I don't think she's watched a single episode of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So it's possible. Anyway, Crystal goes, "Are you out of your mind? You talked about her esophagus for 2 hours at the Celebration of Life event." Maybe Anne-Marie thought it was a celebration of esophaguses. Or esophagi? A celebration of esophagi. Anyway, Crystal goes, "Garcelle and I literally had to leave because it was so annoying." And, oh, wow. Bravo gives us a time-stamped flashback. And I do have to say, Crystal lied. It was not 2 hours. It was almost 5. She started talking about Sutton's esophagus at 6:03 p.m., and the last timestamp was 10:51. What? That's insane. Anne-Marie, I'm trained to be a critical thinker. Okay, but are you trained to obsess over another woman's esophagus? Crystal's like, oh my God. So Anne-Marie goes, "Crystal, didn't you want to go to medical school? If you'd gone to medical school, you'd get it." And Crystal goes, "Did you go to medical school? Didn't you tell me you were an anesthesiologist when I met you?" Uh-oh. Anne-Marie, oh, here we go. Downplaying my profession again. No. Who downplayed her profession? Crystal is saying you told her you were an anesthesiologist, which is not a nurse anesthetist. So that's a different profession. She's not downplaying your profession. She's saying you told her you were something different. Crystal's like, you're such a bitch. Well, that shocked Kyle. We get a flashback to Crystal saying she wanted to go to med school, but Rob, something about, I don't know, he wanted to get married. He didn't want to wait for her to go to med school. I don't know. Anyway, she decided against it. And Anne-Marie is using that as her reason as to why Crystal is calling her out now. Anne-Marie just thinks it's because she's jealous. She doesn't get to do what Anne-Marie does. And, she's resentful. Oh, the stories we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better, right? So then Anne-Marie turns to Sutton and gives the most passive-aggressive apology I've ever heard. "Sutton, I'm sorry for being concerned and inquisitive about something that anyone in my fake profession would be concerned about. I do apologize for that. Whether you accept that or not, that's on you." Wow. And that ends with Anne-Marie going off to find her husband. Erica goes off to find a drink. And Sutton just wants to stop talking about her esophagus. I think Anne-Marie got off really easy there. But, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not over yet. So now Kyle goes to find Dorit, and she tells her about the fight. She goes, Anne-Marie was so heated and worked up. And now Garcelle walks up to them, and Dorit's like, oh, Kyle is getting me a little caught up on the argument that went on. Oh, good. So Sutton gets to stop talking about her esophagus, but we don't. We're not done yet, guys. Garcelle goes, yeah, it was very heated. Kyle's like, yeah, very heated. Kyle and Garcelle, neither of them knew that Crystal had that fire in her. In her confessional, Kyle goes, we all wanted Crystal to find her voice, but screaming, you're such a bitch at a black tie event wasn't exactly what we had in mind. I'm on Crystal's side here, of course. Because Anne-Marie twice tried to make Crystal look really bad. First by saying that she brought up the eating disorder thing, thinking Sutton had an eating disorder. And second, when she accused Crystal of shaming nurses, basically. So yeah, I would have screamed at her too. In Dorit's confessional, she's like, come on, ladies. This is about the homeless and the toothless. Dorit, you of all people, they're not toothless. That's what the whole charity's about. Okay, now Mauricio and Kyle go over to look at the silent auction and ooh, Taylor Swift's signed guitar is one of the items. Oddly, the starting bid is $850, which seems low to me. I don't know, just given the success of the Eras tour, I feel like $850 is a low starting point. I'm sure it won't go for that, but still. Mauricio's like, it's cool, but we don't need that. I mean, nobody needs it. Probably nobody needs any of these things that are up for auction. That's not really the point. You're not shopping. You're donating to a charity. People are milling around. Erica makes friends with the pink lady. Don't know what her real name is, but that's what the Chiron calls her. She's wearing pink and she has pink hair. And because Erica is also in pink, they befriended each other. It's cute. Dorit quickly meets with someone from the venue to make sure that Anne-Marie and Sutton are not seated next to each other at the table. They are not. Sutton is next to Mauricio. And the first thing he says to her when he sits down is, I heard you had an esophagus problem. Thanks, Mo. In her confessional, Sutton's like, Mauricio, you can come to the Homeless Not Toothless Gala, but you can't come to the Celebration of Life event for your wife? That's messed up. Then we hear the announcer say, please welcome to the stage fashion designer Dorit Kemsley. Look, technically, yes, she's a fashion designer, but it just feels funny to me. So Dorit gives her speech, and then she introduces Paula Abdul, who then introduces the surprise guest of the evening, Taylor Dayne, who sings her 1988 hit, Tell It to My Heart. Erica has to obnoxiously mouth every word. Kyle and Sutton are up dancing. A lot of people start to get up and dance, but, both feel unnecessary to me. Side note, Taylor Dayne looks fan-freaking-tastic. Possibly better than she did when she first sang that song 36 years ago. I feel like this surprise, although it was a surprise, it wasn't Boy George, feels a little bit like a step down. Maybe not. But I mean, just like in terms of fame level, I was happy to see her. And also, like, I know he didn't do anything, but William H. Macy is probably the most famous person there, right? It just feels like the big surprise was Taylor Dayne. No offense. Anyway, all the ladies and just the ladies, no spouses, are now sitting at the table together and they're discussing their trip to Spain. Side note, when did this get announced and how did I miss it? Is it like Sutton's trip? Because she seems to be kind of leading this conversation, but I have no memory of a scene where Sutton says, everyone, I'd like to take you to Spain, like the typical thing. It's just the first Mauricio and I heard about it was in the car on the way over. So, apparently Mauricio and I are not kept in the loop. No, I don't remember that scene. I know I didn't talk about it. Did I miss it? I don't know. I guess I missed it. Anyway, Sutton says, okay, so we are all going to Spain and friendship is meaningful. So we have got to stop this now. And Garcelle's like, okay, well, what do we do? And Sutton said, Anne-Marie, I like you. We had a good time. I just didn't like that you were telling everybody stuff behind my back. And instead of apologizing and saying, yeah, you're right, because that's very unprofessional. If she wants to talk about her profession and I'm just concerned for you because, you're mixing alcohol and a medication you shouldn't be, or I don't know, whatever. If you were concerned, you wouldn't be talking to other people about it behind her back. So that seems like that would have been a very easy one to say, yeah, I shouldn't have done that and I'm sorry. But no. Anne-Marie just said, Sutton, I already explained that, and I'm not going to let you continue this narrative. You never explained it to her, why you didn't keep your discussions about her esophagus to just her. Everyone's just like, okay, let's just go home, cool down. Kyle's like, are we all on the same flight? And Garcelle laughs, I think so. All right, so now it is, I don't know if it's the next day or a few days later, but it does seem like we're kind of getting ready to pack or something. I don't know. Kyle's like dragging her giant suitcases up the stairs to her bedroom to start packing. And she's like, oh, that's right, I have new shoes. And she opens the shoe box and it's just like a loafer, which is not her style. And she goes, oh, these are Morgan's shoes. Okay, you guys, what do you think that was about? Was that whole scene left in because we're still trying to push the narrative that something's going on between those two? Oh, they went shopping together and they got their bags mixed up or something. I don't know. It just feels like we are really very purposefully trying to mention Morgan as much as we can. Anyway, Kyle's talking to Sutton on the phone about the trip, and I think she says that Anne-Marie needs to apologize to me or something like that. Anyway, and then she does call Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie said that, she's had some time to reflect, and she said, I feel ridiculous. I feel horrible. Okay. I mean, that's a step in the right direction, right? Then we see Erica FaceTiming Crystal. They talk about that night. Erica's like, you called her a bitch. And Crystal's like, yeah, I know, that was rude. But she called Sutton a liar. She said she was yelling when she wasn't. None of it made sense to me. And Erica's like, I'm just glad it wasn't about me for once. Now we have Garcelle and Sutton FaceTiming. Sutton's like, why is she so interested in my esophagus? And Garcelle, I think, really hits the nail on the head here. She goes, I think she just wants to be right because it's a medical thing. Yes, that's maybe not all of it, but I do think she's right. I think that's a big part of it. She knows more because she's in the medical field. Let's not forget, this started based on Kyle telling Anne-Marie how Sutton had been describing it. Right? Which sounded crazy. I can't eat because my esophagus is small. It sounds weird, and that isn't exactly the truth. And she was basing it off of Kyle's interpretation of what Sutton was saying about it. If she really wanted to go further into it, she should have asked Sutton about it privately, or better yet, let it go because Sutton is not your patient. Anyway, back to the conversation with Anne-Marie and Kyle. Kyle's like, well, hey, maybe Spain will be magic and it'll just fix all our problems. Have you talked to Crystal? And Anne-Marie's like, no. And I have no intention of talking to her. She owes me an apology. Kyle goes, what about Spain? And Anne-Marie's like, you know what? She mocked my profession. There's no way. I don't care if I don't talk to her the whole time we're there. Again, just want to point out, she did not mock your profession. So back to Crystal and Erica. Crystal says, if Anne-Marie doesn't talk to me at all, that actually might be better. Yeah, there's no might about it. It would be better. Back to Anne-Marie and Kyle. Anne-Marie does say, I do want to talk to Sutton, though. Kyle, you know me. I want to go into this trip happy and positive. So I hope Sutton is receptive to talking to me. All right, so they hang up, and she FaceTimes Sutton, who said, oh, you caught me eating. I am actually eating. So Anne-Marie said, Sutton, I am coming to you with my heart in my hand. Sutton goes, okay. I'm sorry for my part in everything that happened. And Sutton, in her confessional, she's like, your part? How about your part is the only part? So anyway, Anne-Marie's like, I'm sorry, I pried into something that you don't want to talk about. And Sutton goes, oh, I'll talk about my esophagus all day long. Yes, the issue is that you questioned her as though she were giving false information about her esophagus. Doesn't she get that? Anne-Marie, well, I'm sorry I upset you by talking about your esophagus. Behind my back. Behind your back. And Sutton goes, you're not off the hook yet. Look, I want you to come. I'm looking forward to working all this out with you. I really am, because I like you. Does she? Anne-Marie goes, same. Does she? Do they like each other? And Sutton goes, Anne, you licked my armpit. What? No. You mean to tell me there were more cards read? that didn't even make it onto the episode last week? Anne-Marie's laughing and she goes, I did lick your armpit. Sutton, how many friends can you say that about? And they laugh. And, Sutton thanks her for calling. She said, I really mean it. And then the screen goes black and it says 24 hours later. Barcelona, Spain. The ladies are there. They're seeing the house that they're staying in. The woman showing them the house starts to say something. And then Erica goes, it's haunted. And she goes, well, I've never seen anything, but yes, they say that Erica goes, I knew it. I felt it. Well, this freaks out Dorit. Then we see them at dinner. This, it feels like these are previews for next week, except it's not. It's like, I don't know what this is. It's like some weird flash forward because this is still part of the episode. Now we jump to them having dinner and Anne-Marie tells everybody, the first thing that Crystal told me about this group of women was that you ladies are not intelligent and you're very shallow. And Dorit's like, shallow? Proving the first part of that. Dorit is more upset about the shallow comment. It's just bizarre. We have Garcelle going, did you say that? And Crystal, I'm very offended that you would even ask me that. And Garcelle goes, well, she's accusing you, so I'm asking, which feels fair. And Anne-Marie wants two things from Crystal. One, to bring it down a notch, which Crystal says, don't ever tell me to bring it down a notch. And two, a thank you. Crystal goes, for what, Anne-Marie? For giving you something to talk about and making you relevant. To be continued. Yeah, there you have it. I don't know. It's weird. It will be weird to see if we don't go back next week to them getting on the plane and all that stuff, or if we're going to just jump right into this dinner right away. I don't know. It was weird. It felt strange. It felt like they were trying to make previews for next week part of this episode, because then I don't think there were previews for next week. So I don't know. Weird kind of an ending, but anyway, if you liked this recap, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed to Jill Informed, please consider doing so. And if you click on the bell icon in the corner, you will get notifications every time I post something new here on my channel. I'm an Amazon affiliate, so going through any one of the links in the description box below this video before you do your Amazon shopping will allow me to earn a small percentage of whatever purchases that you make. So thank you in advance for that. And yeah, I guess we'll find out all the answers to how they got to Barcelona next week. So thank you guys so much for being here. I love you, and I will see you next week. Bye.